This week's episode is sponsored by Pelican.
You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Greetings and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. My name is Alan Weitz.
And I'm Jill Waterman.
It's never been easy earning a living with a camera, but these days, young photographers and other creative types face larger hurdles than ever trying to get a foothold in the field. As one of the oldest and most respected professional associations around, the American Society of Media Photographers, formerly and originally known as the American Society of Magazine Photographers, or in either case, the ASMP, recently developed an immersive 16-week educational program that bridges the gap between traditional education and successful industry careers for aspiring young photographers. The aptly named Bridge program combines professional development workshops, in-studio visits, and direct interaction with mentors and seasoned industry professionals, offering young, motivated artists a healthy blend of real-world experience and strong community support. Best of all, if you're accepted, it's tuition-free, and it doesn't get better than that. We first learned about Bridge back in February while recording an episode on ASMP and speaking with program co-founder and ASMP New York president Liam Alexander. With the second year of the program now complete and with plans in place to expand to other cities, we figured this is a good time for a more comprehensive update. We're going to be speaking with Liam during the first part of the show, and after a short break, we'll be hearing from Eli Edwards, recent graduate of Bridge, who will give us first-hand accounts about the knowledge and skill sets this multi-tiered mentorship provide him. But first, a little bit about our guests. Liam Alexander is a fine artist and creative director who seeks to catalyze social change through artistic expression. As the current president of ASMP New York, he co-founded the ASMP New York Bridge program in 2020 with Justin Lin of BKC. He's also been instrumental in building other community-focused creative projects designed to educate and inspire, such as I Thou at NYU's Kimmel Galleries, The Exchange at Rush Arts, and #Stroke of Genius. Liam's own work has been featured in gallery exhibitions and art fairs throughout the U.S. and at the second annual Toolkit Festival in Venice, Italy. His work has been published in magazines including Nylon and Rolling Stone, and he creates projects with major brands like Wix.com, Samsung, SAP, Renaissance Hotels, and the City of New York. Eli Edwards is a photographer, videographer, writer, producer, and director. Born in Los Angeles, Eli currently resides in New York City, where he works as a freelance videographer and photographer for brands, events, and musical artists. He was a 2022 participant in the ASMP Bridge program, where he produced the photo series A Community of Hoops, which is about the dedicated group that frequents New York's iconic West 4th Street basketball court. Eli is a 2019 graduate of NYU's Steinhardt School, receiving a Bachelor of Arts in Media Culture and Communication. After college, he worked as a social media editor for Turner Sports in Atlanta and part of the Emmy Award-winning NBA on TNT team and doing content creation work with the NBA. Liam Alexander and Eli Edwards, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey, good to be here.
A question for Liam. Signing up for Bridge involves an initial application process. And could you tell us about that? How many applicants were there this past season, and what is the selection process like? Give us the whole skinny on it, from soup to nuts.
Sure. With regards to the application process, it's fairly simple. We accept people between the ages of 18 and 28 years old, and you submit your work and write a small essay about what you're up to in the industry, why you want to be a part of the program. And there is a selection team of 5 people, including someone from ASMP National, someone from BKC, our educational partner, myself, and others from ASMP. There's some things that are fairly straightforward. I can't recall the exact number this year, but let's say it's between 80 to 100 people that apply for the program. We accept between 12 and 16. So it's very competitive, which is a good thing, but it also kind of makes me sad because there's so many people that need the support of programs like this and so little support for people out there. I think it's a testament to that, how many folks apply for the program. And we wish we could take more people, but currently, just due to funding, we can't have more students.
I would imagine, if I could just interject for a second, that you're obviously looking at the work that these applicants have been doing. You know, what kind of photography do they do? Do they know how to use a camera and everything else? But I would imagine there's also a part of like their attitude and personality, and they have a drive about doing something. Sometimes people don't have the skill set yet, but you could tell they got the drive and they have the thoughts and they have the idea. So I imagine it's a blend between the two. Is that a good assumption?
You're really correct. First and foremost, when we were designing this program, we were out to design something that's going to fill the gap that's out there for people. And education about how to take pictures is readily available all over the planet. We always say, like, you have YouTube University, you can learn anything.
Oh, yeah.
So when we were designing this program, we said we're not going to focus on skills, aperture shutter speed. You'd certainly do a bunch of shooting during the program, but it's not focused on teaching the skills of photography that most people have picked up on their own, or there's plenty of places where you can learn that for free. There's three things that either have people succeed or not succeed in their careers in the arts, and that's time, money, and access. And often the same people keep getting the same jobs or keep succeeding because they all have time to fail. They have the money to try lots of different things. This is something that mostly people don't acknowledge or address, is that it takes time and money to set up shop, basically, in your career in the creative arts. And access, you got to know the right people. There are people that are born with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's fantastic. I wish I was one of those people. And it's wonderful. If you're born into that, by God, enjoy it, right? But the reality is that most people are not.
And by the way, I think it's also important to note that, and I think I'm not just talking through my hat on this one, I'm talking also through personal experience. Creative types, for the most part, are usually awful at business and business strategy and having to lay out things and figure out a good process that actually works in the real world. We have this own little picture in our head about what life is about and how things work, but that's not always the case, especially when you're dealing with the business end of it.
You're absolutely right, but I would take it one step further. Human beings are not good at business.
Yeah.
Like, we're not born good at business. If you're born and your dad or mom was a business person, you might wind up being good at business. But other than that, it's not a natural thing to be good at. So I think a lot of times people say, oh, artists aren't good at business. Look, nobody is good at business. It's not something that is ever taught. It's not something that you would just naturally know. So I don't have this expectation like people should know how to run a business. And I think personally, I had that expectation of myself when I was starting out. Like, why don't I know how to do this? Well, I mean, why would you know? Why would anyone know if nobody taught you? And that's where ASMP came in for me. The amazing people that came before me at ASMP, they showed me how to do all that stuff that I literally would have had no clue or never had any access to. So we were looking at how do we structure that so we can directly give that to people on purpose. And that's part of what we do in the Bridge program.
I think it's an amazing program. I think it's a wonderful concept. And I think it fills a gap that exists right now. Way back when I started off in the industry, it was easy to have access. You had access to people. If you saw a graphic designer or an art director or any kind of creative person that you liked their work and you wanted to show them a portfolio, you can call and half the time they actually picked up the phone and they would actually see you. But I mean, that's a different thing right now. Again, everything is online. People are previewing work. You could send stuff you don't have to actually see in person. But actually getting to see the person and meet the person is a very different thing. And one of the things you're getting from this, so I'm gathering, is that you learn how to do this kind of thing because we don't get this in art school. We don't get this in just, daydreaming and stuff like that. I have a question for you. We did mention early on BKC. Can you give us a little bit of a background on what BKC is?
Oh, yeah. There's absolutely no way this program would have ever happened without BKC. Justin Lin is a photographer and an educator, and he has been running an organization called BKC in Brooklyn for the last, I'm going to say 12 years, could even be longer than that. We were introduced to him by a friend, Curtis Willix at FIT.
Oh, sure.
Who I think we all know.
Wonderful man.
We essentially had a vision of something we wanted to create. And I was really clear that we were not the people to execute it because I'm good at making weird collages and mildly okay at running the New York chapter of ASMP. I'm not an educator, right? And we didn't have any educators on our board. So we said, look, if we're going to create something like this, we're going to have to bring in a really, really powerful partner to help create it. And as it turns out, we met with Justin and said, hey, this is what our vision is. And Justin was like, wow, that's funny because I've had a vision for a program like this for the last 10 years. And it was like we were both working on the same thing, but like by ourselves. And when we combined our efforts, we created something even more extraordinary than I think either of us could have done on our own.
When you find somebody who has the missing pieces from your puzzle, man, and you got theirs, I mean, that's when the magic starts happening. So this program starts out with 8 weeks of meeting twice a week with mentors. Who are the instructors or mentors? How do you choose them, and what are you covering in the class?
So there's really three portions of the program. There's the classroom portion, the mentorship, and then a final project that the students exhibit in a gallery at the end of the program. The classes are taught by Justin from BKC, and the mentors are working photographers. There's a certain type of person that wants to give their time, wants to support the next generation of photographers, wants to support people and give back and share their knowledge. And that's the number one thing. We're not looking for people that have formal educational training or anything like that. We're looking for people that are passionate about sharing knowledge and giving back, and that are working in the field, like really out there, doing what we're talking about. Because most of how anybody ever learns something like the trade of photography is on the court. You can watch a video or you can sit in a class and they can talk about working with a model or, booking an assignment. But the way you really learn is being out there, trying, failing, succeeding, learning those lessons. Well, should have charged more for that. Or, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was going to need this and that when I got to set. When you learn the hard way, that's when you learn and grow in your professional career.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's kind of important to impress upon people is that when you're a student or an enthusiast of being a photographer, you can go out and you can get good pictures, and you could fail, often do, and that's part of the thing there. But I think that one of the important lessons that you get from things like this is that if somebody's actually hiring you for a project, okay, you don't have the option to fail. Not every picture will succeed, but you have to make sure you're bringing something home. There has to be something that you can give your client, whoever hired you to do this.
One of the things I was talking about in the beginning was there's three main pieces that are missing for people. One of those is access.
Yeah.
Access looks like your connection to community, and community gets built in a very particular way. It doesn't necessarily take a long time to build community with people, but groups of people putting mutual effort into something over an extended period of time will form social bonds. And the point of the length of the program, in addition to that, there's just a lot of information and a lot to do. And like you said, developing a project and work over time is really helpful, but also beginning to build those relationships with the mentors and the other organizations. We have sponsors like Capture One, who comes into the classrooms, and they have experts. And we also have studio spaces. And I know they visited places like PhotoCare this year. And the idea that the students get to connect with these individuals and people throughout the process, these are now not just somebody they met once. These are people that they've been interacting with for 3 months. This is now a friend. This is a mentor. This is a resource. And now these students are somebody that they can hire. The idea is really to take these 12 students and embed them into the community. So now they are the community.
They're part of the network.
Yeah, because that's the toughest thing. I mean, when we all start out, we start out assisting. And we start out doing crappy, low-paying jobs. But we have to sustain our lives. I like to say, you got to fund your operation. Like somebody's art career in the arts it's like a startup, right? And the startups that succeed are the startups that have tremendous amounts of funding. But we never really asked ourselves, like as artists, like how do we fund our operation? How do we get that startup capital to get us off the ground?
How do we spend other people's money?
Yeah. And by the way, that's available to a lot of people, spending other people's money on your career. That's great if you have that, but most people don't have that. So we have to look outside of ourselves. Like, how do we fund this operation? And getting jobs from people in the community, being able to work at somebody's studio. That's not available if you don't know those people. If you're not in the industry, if you don't have 19 ASMP members that you can call if you need something or text if you have a question. So one of the main parts of the program is like, how do we get like 19 ASMP members into these students' Rolodex?
Do the ASMP members are most of them amiable to this? I mean, when you say we need people to volunteer, do you have to look hard, or are most members pretty good about it and saying, yeah, I'd love to help out with that?
I think at this point we have between 600 and 800 members here in New York, and people are members for different reasons. Some people are ASMP members just because they want to support the advocacy that we do in Washington. And some people are ASMP members, frankly, just for all the discounts that we get at rental houses and things like that. Yeah, so some people join for those reasons. Some people join for the community. Some people join to get what we're providing in the Bridge, to get that community of people. And some people have been in the community for a long time, like myself, and say, hey, I've gotten enough for myself here. It's time for me to give back, because we know that somebody did that for us once, or because we know that supporting the next generation of folks is how we leave a legacy. And we have tons of members that do that.
Something I just want to mention, and that is that if you look at the names of the photographers on the masthead of ASMP, you'll find that these are not people with a lot of time on their hands. These are people whose work, they're working, they're out there, and they're making time in their schedules to do this because it matters to them.
You know what they say, if you need something done, ask a busy person.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Jill, I think you had a question?
Yeah. Liam, earlier in the conversation, you mentioned that the 8 weeks of coursework at the beginning is taught by Justin. Can you go into a little more detail about what's covered in those courses?
Oh, absolutely. What's covered is things like finding your creative point of view. We looked at what's the group that needs the most support. There's tons of programs for people that are in high school. Then there's college. And if you're able to afford to go to college, that's great. You have that support structure. But there's groups of people that can't afford to go to college. And there's 18 to 26, 27-year-old group of people that we kind of just like throw them out on the street. We're like, okay, you're on your own now, kid. What's up with that? It is an extremely critical time and they have no support. And then we looked at, well, what's the support that they need? In addition to time, money, and access, what are some other things that people need to hone? We looked at things like, what's your creative point of view? What's going to have you stand out in the marketplace? Okay, great. You can take pictures, but the thing that is going to keep you working and keep you making work and selling work for years is your specific point of view, which is specific to you and who you are. And that's why you get paid the big bucks. So how do we develop these people's creative point of view? So that's something huge. There's also straight business stuff, like how do you price your work? Now, the economy and the business is constantly changing. There's no way to tell people what to charge for things, but what you can do is you can say, here's the factors that go into creating your work. Here's what the market looks like. And we can start to teach these people how to analyze the market so that they can set their prices appropriately.
But by the way, you talk about pricing jobs. That I think is probably the toughest, most complex and frustrating part of the business. And for all of the reasons that you mentioned, when you're taking a picture, where is it going? How is it being used? For how long? Ownership, all kinds of things that go on. And the local economy, where are you? I mean, if you're in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, that's one thing. But if you're 1,000 miles, into the center of the country, that's a different issue. Small town, large town, medium. And how many other people in your vicinity are capable of doing the same picture? You might be unique. You may not be. So that is always a hard thing, but anytime you can get tips and information on pricing, that is right there is worth the price of admission.
Justin always says, how do we make people's careers future-proof? Which means What are the conversations that we can have now that set people up to be thinking about, how do I make myself relevant moving forward into the future and forever? How do I understand what I'm doing and understand the market in a way that I can navigate? This is at the core of what we teach in those classes.
By the way, when people ask me about, pricing and stuff like that, I have a little thing I always use, and I think it's pretty accurate. Figure out where you live. How much does it cost for your plumber to show up for 1 hour? And why? Because this person knew what to do and had the tools to do it. And yeah, they just tightened a screw. But you know what? You didn't know how to do that. And you didn't have the tools to do that. We didn't know how. So I would say that whenever in a jam, just call up your plumber and say, how much do you charge an hour? And there's your starting point right there.
That's amazing.
So, Liam, you mentioned earlier about a couple of partners in the program. How many partners do you have, and how does that work?
There's really 3 partners that have been huge supporters: the ASMP Foundation, Sony, and the Freelancers Union. The Freelancers Union helped us launch this program last year. They believed in us when we had no proof of concept. And the same with the ASMP Foundation and Sony. They said, this sounds amazing, let's give it a shot. Now, with our second year under our belt, we have had support from all kinds of other organizations. We have Agency Access, Pixie, Capture One, F-Stop Gear, and Lacey have all supported the program. And we're so happy about all of that support. It makes a huge difference because it's a free program for the students.
It costs a lot of money to be free, is what you're trying to say.
Yes, it does. We're really grateful. There's also individual support. Many people have donated individually. And also there's got to be 25 to 30 different industry professionals that have recorded videos that we show during the program, answering various questions about the industry, about life, and all of our mentors from the past 2 years. It's 12 people now that have given their time and support to these young people, all of the studio spaces, all of the other places that have hosted us over the years. So we have so much. I can't even name the amount of people because there's so many people that support this program. And that's really a testament to how good the program is, but it's also by design because we want everybody to interact with everybody. And we want, as I said, to embed these young people into the community. And the way that we do that is we bring the community in to support them and create opportunities to interact. And that's why we have such a wide net of support.
So are there specific packages for supporters, or do you tailor each partner or supporter based on what they feel they can give?
Here's the reality of running a nonprofit program. It's like we always need money, obviously. And so anyone that can give us money, it's greatly appreciated. But for me, what's more important or as important as the money that people give is that we actually incorporate them into the program. So for example, Capture One, who we've been working with this year, first of all, I use Capture One all the time. I love the product. I feel like not enough people know about how amazing it is. And if you're going to be a digital tech in New York City, you have to know that product. And there's not very many opportunities for people to learn about it from a qualified expert and learn about it for free. So what I said to Capture One was, I really want to create an opportunity for the students to get access to the program, to learn about the program. So we had a digital tech training for them this year. And it's great for Capture One because we get people using the software, right? But also you can make $600, $1,000, $1,500 a day digiteching in New York if you know the software. So I'm like, let's give this opportunity to these students. Let's get them onboarded onto the software so they can turn around and somebody can hire them in the industry. And that's the type of synergy that we're looking to create with the program.
Yeah, no, being a digital assistant and knowing what you're doing electronically with images, that is a very good position to have because for a lot of large assignments, that's the person who basically is the center of the show right there. You want to make sure you get everything in properly and it's processed properly.
Yeah, so what we're looking to do with the program is like, yes, we need support. Yes, we need corporate support. And we're looking to roll out to multiple cities next year. That's very costly, just to be totally frank. I'm talking about Capture One because we have a great partnership with them right now, because they're providing something that's of extreme value to the students and to the community with the education on their software. And they're also supporting the program. I'm looking to create win-win-win-win opportunities like that. Sony's another big supporter. They've donated equipment. They've supported the program financially. My vision is that in 5 years, when this program is happening in almost all of the ASMP chapters in the United States, we have 38 chapters. There's 30 bridge programs every single summer. There's 12 to 16 students in each of those programs. We're soon enough going to be producing the future of the photo industry every single summer. I think it's an extraordinary opportunity to be involved in that. We haven't even heard from Eli. We're looking at the future of the photo industry right here.
We're actually going to be coming to them in the second half of the show, I promise you. But Liam, you just mentioned that your goal in the next few years is to have a bridge program at each of your ASMP chapters, which is all over the country. I would imagine that every city and every town has different needs. So is that a good assumption that there'll be a core program, but then after that, it's basically constructed to what's real where you are?
Well, that's the beauty of this program, Alan. As I said, we're not teaching tips and tricks here. We're teaching concepts, and we're working on the concepts that are going to make a difference for people's careers, no matter where they are. Creative point of view, I keep coming back to because it's one of the most important core things that we deal with. No matter what market you're in, that's the most important thing that you need to focus on. The core of the program is conceptual, dealing with things that are going to impact people's careers no matter where they're working.
Gotcha. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to pivot to chat with Eli Edwards about his experiences participating in the ASMP Bridge program and how he's utilized what he's learned in the program to jumpstart his career. Stay tuned.
If you're a photographer or videographer on the go, make sure you check out the Pelican Air Case series. Pelican Air cases are ultra lightweight, durable, and perfect for all your photography, videography, and consumer entertainment needs. Head on over to bnh.com to find the perfect Pelican Air case for all your gear.
Okay, we are back. And now we'd like to get into the Bridge program from the student point of view. And again, we have Eli Edwards joining us today. Eli, welcome again. And tell us, how did you hear about the Bridge program and why did you decide to apply?
Sure. Thanks for having me on, guys. So I was at a career crossroads earlier this year working in social media for basketball. And during the pandemic, I picked up a camera and treated it as a hobby. I was like, wow, this is fun. But like, this is kind of starting to turn into more of an obsession. So how can I capitalize on that? And while I was having those thoughts, I was on Instagram and saw a mutual friend post a story about the bridge and how you should apply. And then I was like, okay, this seems pretty cool. So I clicked on the link. It wasn't a scam. And then they were like, free mentorship program for upcoming photographers from 18 to 26. And I'm 25. So I was like, okay, great. Like, I meet the expectations. Like, let me apply and let's see if my work is up to par. And fingers crossed, I applied, I got in, and I thought that was a sign to officially pivot careers, and it worked out really well so far. And I'm super grateful to Liam and Justin and all the people I've met through the program.
So, question, what's the most important thing you've learned in the program that you're able to, utilize in your professional career? What's one important takeaway that you've had so far? One good insight?
A couple things. I would say the first and biggest thing after making that kind of big career switch from social media to being a freelance photographer and videographer is the business side, like how to market yourself. I was going into this almost cold. So to have a group of individuals that included a mentor and then the other mentors as well. So shout out Rod Goodman, mine, and then Joe Lombardo, Erica Reed, Dwayne Like, and Gail Mooney, and Jay Leonard for this year's mentors were fantastic. And then the other students, because you get to kind of have a sounding board of what you're going through, because I have friends in the social media industry, but they don't know what's going on, how to price a headshot shoot, or take a cover photo for an artist. So it was really cool to have a couple months to really talk to people and ask specific questions. One thing too, Liam made this really dope PDF, business in a box, where you can kind of have all these organized ideas of the things we were talking about: marketing, business tactics, how to invoice, what's licensing. Like, I had no idea before this. I was like, oh yeah, just like use the photos, whatever you want, use them. And I started realizing during the course, I'm like, wait a second, like I gotta kind of rewind on that one. So I would say those are the general things. And then also having a gallery opening at the end of the program was really something special, because having your work printed and people really enjoying it and trying to see what your point of view is kind of was a perfect culmination for the business things that we learned about finding your creative point of view, and then having the other students work right next to you, which is really inspiring too. So, all in all, can't say enough.
Now that you're working with clients, how often is it that the photographs that you feel strongest about, the pictures that you're real big on, how often are those the same pictures that your client is choosing? Are you in alignment a lot, or do you find that what you're real hot on, it turns out your client isn't? They're going for stuff that was maybe second choice or something like that? Or are you really kind of like hitting where your client is hitting too?
You want to give your client options. The last promo shoot I did with an artist, we sat down before and tried to map out a plan of what we wanted to do, so there were no surprises. I like surprises personally, so my plan is, get the shots we talked about, you're happy, and then when you sprinkle in a few surprises after some fun shots, to be honest, some of those get picked for, I mean, socials or Spotify skins, whatever it is. So it's nice to give, that extra cherry on top.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if I were to just do the cherry on top and no sundae, that would be a problem. So I give the people what they want.
You learned. Yeah, that's an important
Yes,
thing. Oh, yeah. If you order a hamburger, don't get a fish fillet. I mean, it just doesn't work that way.
exactly.
What effect did the program have on your work? So you said that you were sort of new to photography and doing it like a hobby. Did going through the program actually change the type of pictures you were making?
The way the program affected my work was I got to collaborate and see what other students and other professional photographers did and what it took to get to their points in their career to kind of find your voice. Because I like taking photos on a camera, but to know what I wanted to take photos of and what projects I wanted to do was something I was kind of swimming in the deep end on before. So going into it, I really was not confident in project based work, more, oh, let me go to a friend's party and take fun photos. Now, after the program, I would tell myself, okay, I'm going to go to 3 to 5 parties every week and document what kind of red cups and how many people use those red cups, because those are kind of the definitive symbol of going out to parties. So it was just that process of asking myself questions of why am I taking photos? What am I taking photos of? And then once I got clients, how to bill them, how to charge them. So it was a really constructive course, not just creatively, but how to be a strong individual in a business manner too.
That's a great visual analogy with the red cups. So, how familiar were you with the technical aspects of photography before you applied to Bridge?
So I would say it was YouTube University all the way up until the Bridge started. And when I got there, a lot of the focus of the Bridge was the business aspect and how to find your voice. But it was the friends and mentors I made through the bridge where we got to meet and do shoots on the side where I helped assist them, or vice versa, where I got to really ask questions about lighting and using triggers and flashes, what kind of flashes for what scenarios, um, diffusion, all these different things that I knew to a degree, but really got to put into practice when I was meeting with friends to help them out on shoots, or vice versa. And the mentorship aspect of the bridge program at the last half was really important to helping just ask those technical questions that you have, because that whole period was that time to ask those questions.
Cool. So you were also learning from fellow students, right? Sounds like.
Absolutely. Because every student had a different path of getting here. And what was so cool about the age range, it's 18 to 26. I'm 25. I had 3 to 4 years of work experience in a completely different arena. Some of these students who are now my friends are going to college for photography. And so, one, it's nice to get even more of a youthful glow, as well as people who are starting their careers at a different age. It was great.
Here's a question for you. Would you describe YouTube University as being an effective tool for learning the ropes when it comes to being a professional photographer? What's your experience?
No, I would absolutely say YouTube is an avenue to at least start, where you have questions to ask, whether it's technical or finding your voice, because there are so many videos out there that can answer your questions. I will say, for me, it was a starting place. I think going out and practically shooting and meeting people within the realm of photography was the most crucial thing for me to really feel confident about my work. But I wouldn't have known to even apply to the bridge program without getting fully immersed in the world of photography when I was sitting in my room looking up YouTube videos about what are cool cameras, and then ways to go shoot, places to shoot in Los Angeles where I was. And when I started really getting excited about it through YouTube, that's the first step that led me to the bridge.
So basically, it was your gateway drug.
Exactly.
Okay, got you. Okay.
But this is a gateway drug that I can put my stamp on.
It's a good one. It's a good one. It's positive.
Exactly.
I have another question for you. During the Bridge program, you started shooting pictures at the West 4th Street basketball courts in the Village. Do you plan on making this all into a long-term project? What's your take on this right now?
I really do. This is a project that I am extremely passionate about, because basketball is one of those things that has always stuck with me. Some of my closest friends are through basketball. And then when I came through the bridge and asked myself, what are things that speak to me just outside of shooting pictures, but something I'm obsessed with, basketball came to mind. And so West 4th Street specifically comes in because when I was in college, I was always walking by that court, seeing some of the best talent the city has to offer, the best trash talk, and the community around it. Some of the funny tourists is looking through the chain link fence. And then as I continue to go through the bridge and now past it, I've made some friends of my own who are players and people that just love the basketball that is played there like me, and kind of keep showing up. So this is a project that is ever growing, because the more I go, the closer I get to be with these people and document how basketball kind of transcends their lives and just gets them to be such a tight-knit community, and documenting that has been wonderful. So I think the project will only get sweeter over time the more I go and the longer I go.
Is this something you could have imagined doing before attending Bridge?
Not at all. And that's why I'm so thankful for it, because I would have never put those two dots together, which is crazy, but it's true, because the bridge really helped me think about what is important to me and why is this a worthy project. And this wasn't even my first draft of a project. I was going through something else and then really had to ask myself just tough questions of like, what do I really want to shoot and how can I see this as a project? And then it was through some of my mentors, Liam, and my friend Kyle Louie, who was my right hand guy, another fellow student at the bridge, helping me ask these questions. And then at the end of it, I'm like, wow, this is great. So I'm very thankful for the bridge.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, before you started the Bridge program, you had a successful run working in social media for sports brands. Has your shift from social media to photography changed your creative point of view?
It has. It has. I will say I'm very grateful for my experience working in sports and social media for 3 years, because I think social media is just going to be kind of present in everyone's day in and day out lives at this point going forward, for better or for worse. I mean, Instagram, I feel like, is one of the hot spots for finding new photographers, and things called reels, that where you can find quick tutorials of just Photoshop or whatever you need at that point, and a great way to connect with people as well as for clients too. So the best practices that I learned at my previous job, I've tried to use now as a photographer, which has been useful, about reaching out and how to post your work and connect it to your website and all these different things. So I'm super grateful for it, and it's going to be in our lives going forward. So I think it's best to at least ride the boat of social media and stay afloat.
So, Eli, given your experience in social media, do you have any tips for other photographers on using social media effectively to promote their own work?
For sure. I think the biggest thing I can tell everyone is to not be scared to post your work and post it consistently. I don't know exactly how the algorithm of Instagram works, but I do know posting consistently because you're proud of your work will go a long way, and connect your Twitter, Instagram, TikTok to your website. Connect everything so when someone gets interested in your work, they can find you on the multiple platforms that you are on. Because at this point, it's really important to just showcase what you can do. And there are these different platforms that can be a gateway into all your different talents. So posting consistently and connecting everything all together, which is at this point very doable, is my biggest tip. And then the second thing is, if you are interested in someone else's work or want to connect, direct messaging them, DMing them is a key and has been a key for me and my success. Just not even trying to get something out of that connection, but just genuinely reaching out and saying you're a fan of their work or would love to work on a project together, or just, yeah, shouting them out, messaging and just showing love in that way shows that people are looking at you, and it means a lot. So messaging people accordingly as well.
Building community in the 21st century.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years now? Okay, as a photographer or a visual storyteller, what do you project? What do you see?
I like the term visual storyteller, because I think photography is going to be a part of my life just continuously as we move forward. But the idea of a visual storyteller is something that it is what I would like to say, because I think this is just the start of, I love documenting people in their element, and how I do that in 5 years, is something that I don't know the answer to, but it's exciting. I know I'm going to do it, and I want to do a lot more of it. And the West 4th Street basketball project I did, I think, is the tip of the iceberg. And fortunately for me, I live in New York City, which is one of the best visuals any artist can have as a paintbrush. So I'm going to be an even stronger visual storyteller in 5 years.
No doubt. I have little doubt in that.
Thank you. Let's
That's
go.
great. Eli Edwards, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today and filling us in on your take on the Bridge, which really sounds like a marvelous program. And it's something that anybody who is qualified should try to take advantage of. Again, learning from people who have already been through it is just great. And I always like saying that a dwarf standing on the shoulders of a giant sees further into the woods, and this is a good way of becoming a giant on your own. So that's my take on it.
Absolutely.
All right, this has been a great discussion about, I think, a terrific program, a program that I really appreciate and I think has tremendous value. And anybody who's fortunate enough to get into this program, it's a gold mine. It really, really is. And it's free. Come on now, free gold mine. But again, even if you had to pay for it, it's a very worthwhile program, and it's got a lot of integrity behind it, which makes a huge, huge difference. Anyway, Liam, any upcoming projects you'd like to speak about for your personal or with ASMP?
I'd just like to remind everybody to check aspmpny.org and our Instagram and our Facebook for upcoming chapter events that we have. We usually have 3 to 4 online and in-person events every single month, hosted by ASMP New York, and this is for the community. Most of them are open to anyone. You don't have to be an ASMP member, so check the website, check the Instagram, and I just want to say thank you so much for the kind words about our program. Thank you for having us on the show. And I just want to reiterate that the Bridge, while it's free to its students, it's not free to produce. So in the show notes, you will find links to support the Bridge. If you'd like to forward it on to an organization that you think would be great to partner with us to provide services and connections for the students next year, or if you'd like to personally support the Bridge, you can do that too. You can make a tax-deductible donation at the Better World link that's in the show notes. And thank you both for having us on the show and for supporting the program. Thanks so much.
One other thing, when are you opening up the next session for applicants? Is it like an ongoing application system, or is there a window of time?
So we're going to open up applications. That's a great question. At the end of March, beginning of April of this year for the 2023 program. So if you subscribe to our social media, that's at ASMPNY, or BKC's social media, that's at We Are BKC. I actually recommend you subscribe to both. You'll see the call for applications go out. And I really just invite anyone and everyone in that age group to apply. As you can see on the show today, we had Eli, who was just changing careers and starting out. Really, we encourage anyone to apply. We'd like to have a diverse group of people because diversity of ideas breeds creativity. And we also like to select people that have a great essay, who have the drive, and who really show they've got that special it factor. So it could be somebody that just started shooting photographs last week, or it could be somebody that's been shooting for years. You could have a college education or be self-trained. So I really just encourage anyone to submit. There's no formal qualifications to participate in the program.
Great stuff. And again, Liam, thank you so much for joining us today and contributing to the conversation. Eli, any interesting projects going on right now?
Absolutely. There's always something churning. I want to say first, again, thank you guys. As far as projects are concerned, the Community of Hoops project, I intend to be a long-term project, because in order to showcase the community and the amount of people that not just love basketball, but love hanging out and becoming friends for life, you have to keep documenting that. So I'm going to try and go rain or shine at least once a week to West 4th Street. So if anyone's trying to, chop it up or play me one-on-one or get in the shoot, let me know. I'll be there. So that's always going to be in the works. And then I'm starting a project on stooping in the city, which is showcasing what people are doing on their stoops. I think stoops are one of the biggest New York City type things you can think of. And everybody's doing something a little different. So that's something exciting that's in the works for next year. And then just one final note about the program and the people. You can really sense the passion of everyone involved, and that's so exciting. That seeped into my bones and what makes me inspired to keep going and have friends that I didn't have last year. And it's super, super exciting. And from someone who wasn't a self-proclaimed photographer before, this was the perfect program to really make me feel like I can make it in this industry. And now I have the support to do it.
That's cool. Very good. Well, we wish you luck on all that stuff. And again, links to all of the things we've been talking about will be in our show notes. And we'd like to thank all for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And if you're a fan of the show, but you're not yet a subscriber, head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts and click subscribe. You can also find us on the Explorer blog, where we post photos from our guests and show notes. And please join us on Facebook at the B&H Photography Podcast group, where you can share your favorite photos and comments about the show. On behalf of Jill Waterman and Mike Weinstein, thank you so much for tuning in today.
Thanks to Pelican for sponsoring this week's episode.